Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Flipping Tables. I'm your boy Javi.
I'm Fern.
And we're so glad to have you guys back. As you know, our guest, Kenya, the one and only, she's a regular now.
Yeah.
Right?
I would leave her a guess. You know, she's
a regular.
She's a part of it now.
She runs this behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes, she's always in it. So
today we're gonna talk about the next year coming, which is literally around the corner. 2025. Our goals, our expectations for us personally, spiritually, and what do we say, professionally, right?
Right.
It's important, I think, to be honest, right? To share what we have, so that we can support each other, to help each other grow, and also to pray for one another too, right? I've never been somebody to like write down my goals, really, to be like, oh, what do I want to achieve next year or next quarter? Mm-hmm. I just kind of, like Fern likes to say, roll with the punches. Mm-hmm. But as I get older, I'm meeting other people that do that and really like keep it and making an effort to hit those new benchmarks, hit those goals and milestones, and really develop into better people, right, in every area. So today we're going to talk about that, and hopefully it encourages everybody to go out and do the same thing,
to kind of step up their game, right? One of the things is sometimes it's just a lack of preparation.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the biggest things that we want to touch on today is the importance of being able to prepare and have a plan. And one thing that we always talk about, especially we talk about this a lot, like in service, right? Like a culto, that sometimes you don't want to get to a point where everything's like a cookie cutter in a box. And if you don't color inside the lines, then you're ruining your life. But it's important to have a plan. And if the Spirit leads you in a different direction, then accept it. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, you don't just cross your arms and wait for the Spirit to carry you the whole time. You know what I'm saying? So it's important to just kind of plan things out and have a goal in life, have goals, and to be diligent to be able to put it to work.
Yeah.
No, and for me at least, because I'm someone that needs direction. I think I need a goal. I need to write notes, because if I just wake up, I know myself. I'm just going to be on my phone, or all of a sudden I'm going to go by the feeling. And most of the time I just want to go outside, be hiking, walking, running with my dog, drawing, or just creating something, because that's my mind, right? Mm-hmm. So I think it's important to have goals, at least for me. Not everyone is like myself, but I think like God is very organized. Our God is very organized, and He has given us a purpose.
Yeah.
Right. And I feel like that's the number one thing that we need to remember, is that God has already given us a purpose, and we're not looking for a purpose in our goals, but more like, a direction and basically a map for this year, right? Okay, so this year, God has called me for this and this and that. Let me write or have a clear map of direction where I'm going to take that, right? So personally, I always need that every day. And that's why I like to be in ministry. Mm-hmm. I like my kids having children. My husband routine, and my dog eats at the same time, poops at the same time. It's like when my kids were younger as babies, they were like on schedule as well. And so certain things I already know. I always talk about how you share your agenda, and you're very like organized, and you're like, Wednesdays is worship, Thursdays, whatever it looks like. And I always talk with Fernando and I say, I admire that, because Javi knows that his days are specific, and yeah, of course, life will come with unexpected things, and you're flexible with that. But for me, it's like, I need to have, like, if I have an appointment, I can't think or do other things, because I think also my ADHD also like won't allow me, but I feel like I only hyper focus on that appointment. So that's why I feel like, okay, but you have time for this, you have time for that, and you can do this too. So that's why.
Yeah, I like something Fern said about not being prepared and waiting for, if we're talking about spiritual things or just and other goals, right? Waiting for God to sort of carry us there and not put in work ourselves. Mm-hmm. Because I went through that this year, like during the spring months, summer months. I just kind of sat around and was like, okay, God, like I'm putting in work spiritually, maybe,
Yeah.
but not in my professional career. And then I'm like, all right, why am I struggling? You know, and it was like, because you're not putting in the work. You're just, you know,
Going through
you're
the
relying
motion.
on God, but
Mm-hmm.
there you need to put in some work too.
Yeah.
So I really like what you said, because you know, not everybody is born knowing something. So
Yeah.
if you don't learn that from somebody doesn't tell you or doesn't teach you, you know, how are you supposed to just
Yeah.
figure it out?
I come from a construction background, right? So it's like for me, there's a verse in Luke, and I'm gonna read it really quick. It says, well, this is Jesus, right? Talking to his disciples and explaining the cost of being a disciple of Jesus. And in Luke 14, verse 28 says, but don't begin, let me go a little bit back. It says, 28 says, but don't begin until you count the cost. For who would begin construction of a building without first calculating the cost to see if there is enough money to finish it? Otherwise, you might complete only the foundation before running out of money. And then everyone would laugh at you. They would say, there's the person who started that building and couldn't afford to finish it. Right. So it's like, because I come from a construction background, that hits home hard. Right. And I feel like sometimes, I try to emphasize it on other people, but that's not going to hit hard to everyone the way that it hits to me, because I know what that's all about. I always tell my kids and anyone who will listen that it's important to write down what you're doing on a daily basis, because sometimes we're taught that it's important to manage your money, but nobody emphasizes the importance of managing your time. But there's a saying that says that time is money, right? So you would think that you need to learn how to manage both of them. And for me, one thing that I learned a long time ago, that it's good to keep track of what you do all day long, because especially in sales, right, when you're talking about projections, because if you track what you're doing on a daily basis, you can look back and say, what did I do, what did I invest my time into that allowed me to be productive this month, because I was so productive, right? But sometimes you're on the opposite, and kind of like what you said right now, right, where you're like, man, this didn't go my way. You can go back into your time and see what it is that you messed up, where you played yourself. Ooh, that day I hung out with my friends for 4 hours. And as a matter of fact, I hung out with my friends for 4 to 6 hours. And then I stayed up late. And then I went up to bed late. And then I woke up late. And when you start tracking all that, and be like, man, I really played myself. And then you can go into your calendar and say, okay, specifically, I'm not hanging out these nights. I'll hang up these, right? Because you want to find a work-life balance type of thing. But to be able to have a foundation where you're setting boundaries for yourself as a person, that sometimes is the most important part. Limitations, discipline, and structure is probably the most important thing that I've seen.
Yeah, I like that. All right, with that being said,
dive in.
Let's
now we can start.
Let's jump into this. I mean, what are for 2025? What are some of your goals? It can be personal, it can be church, you know, spiritual ministry related, as well as professionally. What are some of your goals?
So I'll start, or you want to go first, babe?
Go.
All right, so I'll start first. I want to talk about like the spiritual side of it, right?
Okay.
For us, 2024 was even 2023, 2024 has been very eye-opening to see how much work goes into ministry, and the opportunities that we're now getting to expand on that. It's really exciting for me. So for 2025, you know, one of the biggest things that I've talked to my wife a lot that I really want to do is one, to find accountability with everyone in my team, in the sense that I want to see the growth in them the way that I want to see the growth in me. And by finding that accountability, and sometimes it takes being vulnerable, right? Showing people like, oh, these are my ugly sides. These are my weaknesses. But showing them what that is and seeing their weaknesses, but with no judgment, I think that's going to be the most important part. But I see that as an opportunity for one, to help us guard our hearts from temptations, from weaknesses, from distractions. But that's going to be the goal, right? One is to seek that accountability. Two is to guard our hearts with temptations. And then kind of like what I said right now, with no judgments, right? And that would mean being able to provide that support, that encouragement that we all need in a group setting, so that we can kind of be there for each other and build up on each other, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes a team is defined by its weakest player, right? Or they say like the weakest link in a chain is what causes it to break, right? So being able to be there for each other and build up each other, because it'd be pointless for me to walk in here with a 22-inch bicep on one arm and then have a weak arm in the other. Kind of look ridiculous, right? So those kind of things. And then the biggest thing that we've talked about a lot, right, which is mentorship and being able to disciple. I think like the discipling part, we've been working hard at it, but the mentorship part is one of the things that I really want to step up, and I really want to emphasize that this year. So those are going to be like I would say my 4 spiritual goals for this year.
Híjole. So you've touched a lot of similar things,
Te los
but
quité todos.
no, but what I do want to focus, I was one of my cousins sent a reel this week, and she sent this reel where this woman is talking about how ministry starts at home.
Mhm.
She's a leader. He's also a leader, and she's testifying. She's saying that her son needed to turn in like a homework assignment or something, and she was like, "No, listen, I'll help you when I get back, but I have to preach tonight." And I'll help you as soon as I get back from service. So, long story short, they stay up all night and they were cranky and tired the next day. And the kid didn't even feel good about his homework, and and then she felt like a failure. And then she was like, God, how do I find balance where like I can still listen and obey
Mm.
to go and preach and then also be a mother for my son? And God was like, who says that you need to go preach outside? And she said, obviously this is un rema para ella, right? So something very personal. And I think that so in that moment she felt like, confronted that, okay, so ministry starts at home, right? And then she could have just, he was like, you could have just done homework with your son and whatever. And I think that that's one of my goals, like I'm a leader, I'm a youth leader too. And as much as my goals, it is full with um, helping others and mentoring. One of my goals is to mentor females in the ministry and also like younger kids and adults. But I have to start. I have to start at home because I have a young adult, a teenager, and younger kids, and a preteen.
Mhm.
Wow, we have everything.
Yeah, all 4 levels.
And the Lord was just speaking to me, like there's different seasons in our lives, and we were just talking about
Mhm.
that. Like ask our God when you're setting all your goals for next year, you say, "Okay, Lord, what is my season?
Right.
Show me, and I will follow." Right. And so right now I feel like because we have so many, one of the beautiful things is that we have been establishing this leadership, this ministry for 2 years. So now we have the privilege of the luxury to say, now I'm going to focus on this
Yeah.
because I have an extension of different helpers and everyone, and it looks very organized now.
Right.
So
Prescott.
now we have the privilege to focus on other
Mhm.
things. So to me, it's mainly family, home, even my dog, Bella, right?
Yeah.
I want to also grow more on the word. I think that I have read the word. I tend to finish the Bible many different times. I think the fathers I've gone is to Psalms. And I started with the women's this year and I failed once again. But the one thing I do want to start this year is just like getting deep in the Bible, not just reading it, the whole entire thing. I think that's mm, going back to like having the right expectations too, right? So I just want to understand the word more. And I think I also want to grow and not just giving to others, but receiving different things. And so being open hearted and open minded for what God also wants to give me
Yeah.
in this season. So,
Mm, that's good.
It's real good.
That's really good. For me, my goals are obviously the biggest one everybody always says at the beginning of the year is lose weight, right? Everybody gyms are packed. But genuinely I think um really to dial like I really want to dial in on that. I know I can do it, but I feel like I've been lazy and obviously like busy in other areas. So but you find time for what you really want to do.
Yeah, exactly.
So really I think work on my health, lose weight. I do have a goal weight in mind, but I'm more of a like I'm doing it more of a long term, more of a lifestyle than
Yeah.
really just like a diet and
Nice.
I want to lose 30 pounds in 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
So I really want to work on my health. I've done it like this spring 2024. I had like a nutritionist. They were cooking for me and everything. And actually, for my birthday in November, my mom posted a picture, and then I was like, "Whoa!" I was looking, thinner. I was looking slim in the face, and now, like, I'm like, "Nah, I gave up on that, but
Like,
gotta get back on
back
that."
to thickum status.
Yeah, so gotta
Bulking season.
bulking season. Yeah. So
Hibernation.
I gotta work on that health.
Mhm.
I'd really love to buy another home.
Nice.
That's always one of my that's always been a dream of mine to own multiple properties, to have investments in real estate, and I think I've sort of like put that on the side
Mhm.
and focus on other things. So really, not I don't want to give up
Yeah.
on that dream. So really, aim to work hard and if God wants to bless me with another home, He'll bless me with another home or just an investment opportunity. Um, like you said, be more consistent in my devotional life with God. This year, I said to finish the Bible in a year. I really just wanted to read it as a book, just to get
Right.
an understanding of timelines, characters, and without
Nice.
being like, oh, what's the deeper meaning in this story?
Right. Right.
I really just wanted to read it through and through. I'm halfway. I finished half of it in a year. So 2025 finished the other half,
Nice.
But in the meantime, of course, like, sometimes I'm reading and God will speak to me, right, and reveal something. And then I use that in the lessons or
Yeah.
for my personal life or, like you said, mentorship or discipling times. It's like, bro, I was actually reading about this and you share it, right? So God's doing that. Um, Continue to work in the youth ministry and stay ready so you don't got to get ready
Yeah.
for God's move, God's moves, like you said, be flexible for the direction that God wants to take you,
Mhm.
you know?
Yep.
Also, I'm a drummer, and earlier in the year as well, I was practicing a little bit more, like scales and rudiments and things like that. And I saw how I could improve, like just by putting in work.
Mhm.
So I would really love to level up my skills,
Mhm.
whether that be, getting a teacher, someone who can
I love that.
just show me,
Yeah.
I already know the drums, but just show me more technique and the technical side of it.
Level up.
Yeah. So level up
Love
my skill. And then just like, a little cherry on top is just get would like a new car, just personal stuff, like a new car. And I think something that came to mind when you were saying something is asking God what the season He has for you is because this is not we can't treat this as a wish list.
Hmm.
This isn't God, I want this, God, I want this, God, I want this, God, I want it's not just a wish list, but really like if you really want to grow and mature and
Yeah.
continue to move forward, you gotta know or ask God for what is it, discernment to be
Yeah.
able to
I love that.
to know which way He wants to take you, right? And there's many more goals. I this year we all joked about it, but I kept saying like this is my year, and it's not over, right? But
not over.
I was telling you guys in the morning that just because something didn't happen this year doesn't mean that next year it can't happen. So I've seen some of the things that God spoke to me about in January of 2024 that have started coming to life. But that doesn't mean that because the year ended, it's not going to come
Right.
through.
Yeah.
Life continues. And I remember, I think it was like Profeta David Navarro said, like, just because God's given the word to your neighbor, that doesn't mean that you can't say, I'll receive that word too.
Yeah.
Like, take it for you if they don't want to take it. So, and just because, a word was meant for you in this season doesn't mean that it can't be used for the next season. So,
Wow.
I've seen God develop, start moving things, start shaking things, and start opening up different areas, and promises and things like that that haven't been fulfilled, but I've saw it, or I've seen the beginning,
Yeah.
and so I know next year still my year. So
Still,
it's still my year.
continuance.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
continuance. You don't know where your year started.
And I like what you said that, because I think that eliminates frustration. Also, like, there's some people that really just give up on a
Mhm.
lot of things, like some people give up on buying a house or marriage or
Mhm.
things because there is not happening for them
In their time.
and their time.
Yeah.
But I feel like, that's the beautiful part, that the word reminds us that God has good plans for us. And then also, like, to know, like, okay, I like that you said that word, I can take it for next year,
Yeah.
because that's having faith
Mhm.
and holding on to God's promises. I think that has happened with us, where like things have been prophesized, that has been word said to us, but we don't see it. We never saw it until 10 years, a decade
Yeah.
later. And that's important to remind ourselves, like, no, but what God said was this and this and that and
Yeah.
that, and he promised this and this and that, and so I think that it's important for us as Christian people, knowing that it's good to set goals, but also it's good to listen where God wants you in that season.
Yeah, I think it's important, like what you said. How to say this? It's good to understand that just because you start something now or you wanted something now, and part of it was given to you, it doesn't mean that you're going to see the results immediately.
Right.
Right. So I'll give you guys a quick example, because I love the fact that you guys brought your health and everything into it, because I do have a couple more
So you were
things
going
here.
to
Right.
talk about football.
No, no, no,
Another
no.
analogy of football.
No, no. Well, see, the thing is, I was going to share this, that the book of Proverbs, chapter 16, verse 3 says, commit your work to the Lord and your plans will be established. Right. So in this part of the scripture, what it's really telling us is that there's a need for us to have preparation, but to make sure that our preparation is aligned with God's will. Right. When you do that, it tends to our efforts will be blessed in that sense. So for me, it's like I hear you guys say that, and it's like a couple of weeks back, Kenya was like, "Oh, we're gonna do this juicing thing, and you're gonna do," it. And I was just like, "Oh, here we go, another one of her experiments that I gotta go through." And I'm like, "It is what it is, you know." Which I did it,
I'm so proud of you.
and I killed it because I did it really well. But the point
And you
was
saw
this, right?
results almost immediately.
Well, this is the thing. It wasn't in reality. In the first few days, I was like, "This is disgusting. I can't believe she's making me do this." Right? Like, it tastes gross. The texture is terrible. But like 7, 8 days into it, I was like, I feel so much energy. Like, I don't
You were
feel
in a
like
good mood.
tired all the time. Like, I was in a great mood all the time, and I was feeling a lot of energy. And when I went to go weigh myself, I had lost like 8 pounds, and I was like, "What in the world?"
Jealous.
And obviously, like, after that, it kind of plateaued, right? But in a matter of, I think it was 2 weeks, I lost a total of 11 pounds, and not doing a whole lot, just literally
You didn't tell me
eating,
that.
eating what she was giving me, like just steaks. Can't complain about steak. Twice a
What's the
day
counterpart,
with some eggs. Relax. She's like, she'll put a link at the bottom so you guys can go to their diet. Otherwise, I'll be here all night.
Can we cut that?
So the point I'm trying to make is that in the beginning, I hated it. I wasn't with it. Like, it's just, I'm gonna just entertain it because that's my wife. I
Mhm.
gotta do it kind of just because you love
Husband
her.
duties,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. It's part of it. So I did it, but I saw the results in the end.
Mhm.
And again, some of the stuff that sometimes we're called to do, they're for our own good.
No.
And sometimes God is trying to give you something new, but you're so attached to your old ways that you don't want to let go of that. And if your hands are full, he can't bless you with something new. So sometimes we're going to have to let go of that stuff. Do you know how hard it is for me to not eat tortillas for 2 weeks, 2.5
Mhm.
weeks? That's insane. I wasn't eating rice, no tortillas, not like the stuff that I love to eat
Yeah.
is the stuff that I had to let go.
Cheese.
That it's not always good for you, right?
Exactly. And I'm gonna read something that same chapter, Luke 14. This is the cost of being a disciple, right? Luke 14 says, um, Jesus turns to the crowd and he says, if you want to be my disciple, you must, by comparison, hate everyone else. Your father, your mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters. Yes, even your own life. Otherwise, you cannot be my disciple. And if you do not carry your own cross and follow me, you cannot be my disciple. Sometimes we want to ask, like you said, wish list. This is all the stuff I want. But the reality is that it takes hard work and turning away from the things that you love. The way that he said is like, you have to hate those things, so that you can love me. And sometimes we want so much, but we don't want to let go of those stuff. So, I mean, for those that are listening, my encouragement to you would be make your list. It's cool to make your list,
Right.
but plan out for the things that you have to let go.
Mm.
What are the things that you have to get rid of? Because you can't just
That's
put
so
things in.
good. Wow.
You can't just add stuff to your life and think that you're just going to add on
Knowing
to
what you're doing.
You can't. It's not going to work out.
You have 24 hours a day, just like everybody else.
It's like we always so like, okay, let me see your list, and we just want to add
Mm-hmm.
like more income, more this, more that, but we don't make a list of what we need to subtract.
Yeah.
Like eliminate this, eliminate that.
That's really good.
You know, so
One thing that helps me a lot is I'll take you to like the economical side, right? Because besides having this stuff on my and I'll share the rest of my list because I only got like a third of it, right? But one of it that I put on here was consistency in eating habits, right? And new lifestyle with my eating habits. Conditioning. I said I wanted to stay active, and then one of the things I said is to get my boys into sports, right? But the next one was to where I'm working at now. I felt like I poured in a lot of myself into the company. I saw a lot of growth for the company. They hit numbers that they weren't expecting. And I felt like I didn't even hit a ceiling, like I'm like, next year is going to be a whole nother level. So I do plan and I pray that God allows me to take this company to a whole nother level, something that they've never seen before. I have history with them of doing that. Praise God for that, right? I've had multiple years of history with them to elevate the company, and I feel like I can do even more next year. So that's one of my biggest goals. I have a lot of house projects, stuff that we want to do, right? The yard, the roof, the bathrooms. There's so many things.
Start small, babe, with the doors.
But those things are gonna come with they all go hand in hand with it, right? Mm-hmm. And then I was jokingly put it in the last one, right, to pay off all Kenya's debts, So the biggest thing would be like all those things come in hand, but even though these are my goals, I'm gonna tell you how it is. Like 3 months ago, I did my projections. Right? What does that mean? It means that if I know that I'm on a commission-based income, I already know how much I have to sell by the end of next year in order to hit my numbers. And that means I know how many deals I have to close every single quarter. So that means I know how many estimates I have to do every single day. Mm-hmm. And I know what I have to close every single day. I know how many phone calls. I know I've broken everything down so that I can make sure that next year while I'm sitting here, I'm gonna be where I wanted to be. Right. It's gonna take
next year. We gotta sit here at part 2.
Amen.
Did we do those goals?
Yeah, be facts. So that's big facts, because it'd be a great testament to be able to sit here and be like, "Hey guys, I hit all of them." Mm-hmm.
Wow.
But even a bigger person to come in and be like, "Listen, I got bigger," whatever the case might be, whatever the case might be, but I think the important thing, and this is what I was talking about, like being able to encourage everyone to be able to confront yourself and like, hey, this is where you lacked, this is what you did well. Yeah. But like, how do we go to the next level? Like, how do we now continue on with the good stuff, but then work on the bad stuff? I think that's the more important part.
I think that's important too. Have realistic goals, and how do we go to the next level? Like, for example, let's say you want to lose weight. Who are you going to look for? The fittest dude in your group chat, right? The guy that's always on the gym, always playing basketball, always playing soccer, screaming in your face.
Or the guy that lost 70 pounds this year.
Yeah.
Oh, the guy that lost 70 pounds.
That might be the guy. I'm gonna tell you what, if you go to the fittest guy in our chat, that guy's gonna ruin you. You're gonna be good for about 2 weeks and then you're gonna be dead. You're not gonna go back.
We don't recommend. He's also the biggest fan.
He's the biggest fan in this podcast, so he knows what I'm talking about. Don't go to the gym with that guy.
No, but I like that because one of the things that you touched also was like eliminating things for us. Sometimes it's like, I know that I did this year intentionally. Yeah. I texted someone and I say, hey, listen, we have a common friend. And I said, I think this friendship is not going to work for me any longer. I think this season has passed. And I almost like, it's like someone died for me. Like I mourn this person and I cry and I pray a lot, but it was something that needed to happen and it just brought so much peace. And those are tough decisions to take away things. Sometimes it's moving from that job that you're not supposed to be, cutting that friendship or cutting like coworkers, right? That that every time you hang out with that coworker, it's like, and this is gonna be a little tough, but sometimes dale, right? Sometimes saying no to certain like privilege at church services, I think for at least for me, I am a person that Fernanda's like, it's hard for you to say no.
Mm-hmm.
No.
It's impossible. It's impossible for you to say no,
I'm a
pretty
people
much.
pleaser, and that's my love language, and service is my love language. So I'm always like want to please you and make sure that you feel the best. When you come to my house, I'm always hosting and making sure, hey, you want this, you want. And to me, it has been very tough to say no this year, but I have learned that. I think we were talking to Jose. Jose's behind the camera, by the way. And say hi to Jose.
We'll get your pick in this.
One of these days, we're going to put it on mic on Jose. But we were just talking about it. And then we say, Jose, every time we say yes, which I learned from Fernando, is you're saying no to another thing.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's something that also to put on my goals. I like that very much. And I'm going to have to also add again, what do I need to say no to? What do I need to say stop? What do I need to say? Because there's certain things that God has never planned for us.
Yep.
But somos tercos, we're like stubborn and we just want to push it thinking, even if it looks good, and it's something that God is saying, are you going to learn? Because he has better things like for us. And
like you said, sometimes we're stubborn and we keep trying to give CPR to dead situations. And at the end of the day, it's like, come on, man, just move on,
Yeah.
But it's harder for us to say it sometimes, or even to acknowledge that that's what we're doing. And sometimes it's going to take people who are around you to hold you accountable to say, my dude, let it go. And we have
counseling too, like, hey, mira, I've been doing this.
Yeah.
Do you think this is time to let go, or should I keep pushing it? Because you never know if that's your breaking point is coming. Like, oh my God, hold on a little bit tighter. It's coming, right? Because we've seen that too, right? For us, we can testify.
Yeah.
So I wanted to say, I didn't know we were reading all of our goals, but I want to say quickly that I do have a small hustle.
Hustle.
Plug, here comes the plug.
Got cookies, side hustle, but I actually
made confections.
So last year I got my LLC and my tax ID and everything, and I established my cookie business and all that stuff. And it was, how do I say this? It was not hard, but it was like, it felt big for me. Like it was very, I guess for you guys, that have your own businesses, it's like, oh, you just did that. For me, it just felt big to see something under my name, our name, because I put your name in there too, even if you don't want to.
Well, slide it in.
But and I just felt like, wow, this is so beautiful, such a blessing. And I want to encourage people that if they had a dream or something, sometimes it's try and error. Go for it, do it, push it. And I was listening to Kim's podcast the other day, and she said something. She had already shared that it was a time where they established their business with their family. It was something that came out of nowhere because they closed down, and then his dad was like, okay, you know what, let's put our own business. And they just did it. They just went for it. And sometimes obviously pray. I'm pretty sure they pray. I'm 100% sure they pray about it. They were not like just like así de un solo, ¿verdad? But pray. But that the word says he has not given us a spirit of fear. Prepare, do what you're good at, and then go for it, and don't be afraid. And then I think that when I saw that, all of a sudden, boom, my business just went crazy, right? And I had to stop because I'm a youth leader, I'm a mom, I have other titles and things to do. But I also, it felt like frustrating because I was just like, but I really want to grow with my business and I have so many ideas and all that stuff. But I know that I have to slow down and just take it little by little. And just because your goals don't match like other people's goals. For example, I'm going to give you the biggest example. We did 75 hard with my brother Sam and Abigail. And we're, for 75 days, you exercise, do all these things, right? They both lost, they lost like 60 pounds or something, close to 60 pounds. I lost 4 pounds. So imagine me trying to compare myself to them. They're younger than me. They have more time. They eat very good food, just like me, but my metabolism is not like the same as them. I stay up late. They don't. Like my daughter doesn't, but Sam does. I don't know how he works. But the thing is, like, sometimes, your goals are there. God is blessing you. It's right there. But then it's not moving at the speed that you think, like you said, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that promise, you don't see it in a moment, but it's coming along with you to the next year. So one of the things is do not compare yourself even to your own self, because
Wow.
that's another thing. You're like, you look at that goal and you're like, I say this, and I'm not here, you know?
Yeah.
So find peace and know that God is in control, and, be diligent, work hard, and play your part.
Yeah. I like that because I was reading the parable of the talents,
Mm-hmm.
right? And one of them got 5 talents, one of them got 2, one of them had 1. And I was telling the youth that, in that parable it says that the master gave them according to their ability,
Mhm.
Yep.
right? So that didn't mean that the one that got 5 was better than the other 2. That didn't mean that the one that got 2 was better than the one that only got 1. It just meant that he was only able to get 1 because that's what he was able to handle.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But they each did, they had free will to do with that, right? With that talent. And the one that got 5 doubled it, had 10. The one that had 2 doubled it, did 2. The one that had 1, he didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And when he came back, he was like, I still have your 1. He
Yeah.
gave him back what he had, but he didn't make anything with that. And it says that his master considered him lazy and wicked and evil.
Mhm.
And he took what he had given him and gave it to the other one
Mhm.
that had 10. So sometimes it's important to, not it's important to not compare yourself. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm 30, I'm 31, or this is my career. How come I'm not moving at the same speed as others? And
Mhm.
it's just important to um honestly like focus, put in the work, and let God bless it. Let God
Yep.
multiply it. Let God do what He needs to do in that area, in that talent, in that gift. So with that, let's move on to our expectations for 2025.
All right.
What are some of your expectations that you guys have for 2025?
I mean, with what everything that God's done in 2023 and 2024, 2025 looks pretty promising.
Yeah.
I do have expectations, and I feel like this is going to be a huge year for growth for the youth,
Mm,
for the group to really step out and step up. When I say that, I mean for them to step out of their comfort and to step up into God's purpose and their calling, whether it's to service or just to be fully in, right? Because one thing that I think that it's important for us, you mentioned the parables, and I'll touch on it really quick. The parables of the 10 virgins, right? Example of the 5 women who were diligent and they were prepared and they were prepared, sorry, for the coming.
hmm
And I think that's what we need to do. We have to make sure that we're mentally and emotionally and spiritually prepared for the coming of Christ. I know that I've been hearing it since I was first coming to church, where everyone's like, "Oh, Jesus is coming, Jesus is coming." Well, He is coming,
hmm
and we have to be able to continue to teach that and to remind folks that Jesus is coming, and His second coming is coming soon. So we have to be diligent and prepare for that. That's my biggest expectation for this year, is to make sure that we are all ready, but not just us, not just my home, but all of those that God's called me to lead.
I can tell you that my biggest expectation is that I know that God is in control. Like, there's a lot of times that I just look at Fernando and like, babe, come on, God got us. Like, He's always has. And I think that one of the things I wrote down here is be realistic. Be realistic what we can do. There's certain things that we cannot do. I will say, like, in all your goals, a lot of people put their fitness and health, right? I think take that as a priority for everyone. You can't do nothing if you're not healthy,
Right.
and things like that. So be realistic and I prioritize health. At least for me, that's what I'm gonna do. And then I put communicate clearly, and especially with Fernando, with my kids, like put boundaries. Like I think one of the things that Fernando did for me when I was doing 75 hard is that I said, babe, I'm going to do this for 75 days. Please know that I want to go outside. I need to go outside every day, and I need to have this time for myself, and I was clear with those things. I think sometimes we get frustrated and feel like people don't understand me, or they don't know what they're going through because you're not clear, you don't communicate your goals,
Mm.
what you want for next year, and sometimes people are like, Javi, ¿por qué ya no te vemos? How come we don't see you anymore at church or nothing? Because you haven't communicated that you're working for a second home,
Right.
or you have a specific need and things like that. And so I think communicate clearly, stay flexible. I said that because God has different plans sometimes,
Yeah.
and stay faithful and know that the Lord has meant something very beautiful, and not to have any fear. Also, again, I know this sounds redundant, but rely on God and trust that He's gonna guide you. Everything that you do. I think one of the things is that when we're in the most like difficult time in our lives and difficult moments, even things like when I was doing, I know I'm doing this a lot, but when I was doing 75 hard, I'm so out of shape that when I was running and I was just like, I can do everything. The Lord that strengthened me, and I was going up this hill. I know, guys, don't look at me like that, but I know that even those moments, I have to use the word because I feel weak and out of shape, and I can't make it to the hill. I was just talking to Daniel. He was telling me, Mom, have you ever run like scared, like something is chasing you or something is behind you? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, do you break records? Absolutely, And I feel like, like I had those moments too. One time I was running and it was really dark and I was like running super fast and now the Lord is with me. But that being said, rely on God and He's with you on all time. And even if you don't see your goals being, going the way that it's supposed to be, expect the unexpected.
Mm.
Like expect that He is good. That's one thing we need to know.
Yeah.
He is faithful, that His word doesn't change, and that His plans are good for you. And the other thing that you need to expect is that He loves you. He's always thinking about you. So therefore, everything that is coming for this year, as long as you stay in that path, right? It's gonna be a good year and good things. So.
Yeah. My expectations, I think, about the church in general. I know Pastor has his vision and it's a big vision. I have my vision as well of what the church is going to look like, as well. And, just expecting God to, um, release those permits that we're
Amen.
missing to start building.
Yep.
And
That's beautiful.
because I feel like it's not just because of the building itself, right?
Yeah.
But once that gets settled, I feel like there's going to be a big boom
Yeah.
and a big growth. Like I remember last year and you guys were there at that meeting where, Prophet Len said, it's not just going to be for Hispanic people now.
Yeah.
It's going to be open to different cultures.
Yep.
And with that being said, if now we're going to not just go Spanish, not that the leaders now aren't capable of,
Yeah.
but pastors are also going to need more help,
Yep.
for other people that are from different cultures, different backgrounds. So it's like, I'm expecting, permits for the building to go up, and then expectations of new leaders rising up and stepping up
Like that.
to be able to help pastor lead and continue to grow.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep. I like that.
Obviously the church and the youth ministry to grow, and like I just said, have more people step up. I know there's a lot of people that are helping to a certain capacity now, that I think they're ready to step up.
Amen.
More, and help more. Obviously some people just got married, some people are just having children, and that's fine. But I think, new people as well as the ones that are in now, they're going to step up and continue to elevate, their game. And my personal prayer is for the Ravens to win the Super Bowl in
bro.
February.
That is ridiculous. Like,
Wishful thinking. I hope it goes.
it's weird.
That's my expectation.
Well, being that my team is pretty much out already. Whoever, if you know, you know. I hope you guys win too. If you know, you know.
The other guy that's listening.
The other guy listening. We don't want that guy.
That guy's team.
Yeah, we don't want that guy. I don't want to hear him all
The
year
right
long.
bird to win.
I love him. The right bird.
The right birds. Yeah.
But I think just last thoughts, right? I want to share one last verse that I have here. It says, The plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance, but everyone who is hasty comes only to poverty. And it's just a reminder in scripture. This is a Proverbs chapter 21 verse 5. It's just really a reminder for us to make sure that we're careful, that we're diligent. If we want to see good results, it's important to be diligent in preparation, right? So that, like you said, sometimes we get lazy and then we start regretting what we don't have. So my encouragement to everyone is like, get ready.
Yeah.
Get ready, because if you want something in life, you kind of have to work hard. And the things that are worth having in life, they take a whole lot of work.
Yeah. I think also let me we're going to end with this question, but
Yeah.
it's also important to reflect on the year that you've had.
Yeah.
Right? Not just again the wish list and the things that we want for next year and what we want to accomplish, but also reflect what he's done for you this year, what you've learned this year. So let me ask you guys, what was your favorite part of this year, 2024?
I think that one of the things I love that I saw was Fernando like declaring and making a list and saying, this year I'm gonna like do this, I'm gonna make this, like in your personal business and a lot of things, like how there's power in your words too.
Mm-hmm.
And like, for example, if you say, oh, I'm not gonna I can't do that, but I love that this year I also saw a lot of things that I pray for my kids, my daughter. I seen things in my daughter, and that I just continue to see God's faithfulness, continuously honoring us and just surprising us with things that we've never expected, and there I have experienced so many different, that's another podcast, right? But it's spiritually speaking, like his presence in a different way. So I don't stop growing, don't stop praying, don't start connecting with the Lord, because there's so much more, and so to me that is just precious and just so beautiful,
Mm-hmm.
that to see that what we pray, sometimes I don't pray that hard and I see the results and God's answer, and his faithfulness. So that's one thing in this year, like I loved so much.
Me this year, I think the one thing that I'm really excited about, that God was good, that He surrounded us with a good team. The first year we kind of just winged it, did everything we could, and we're just putting in a lot of work. And there's no regrets, because now I know what it takes and I know what I can expect from the ones that are serving with us now. But it was eye opening, allowed me to see what it took to be there, and to ask folks to like jump in and help us out, but to see the people that surround us and to see all those who kind of like came to our aid, if you will. But to see that growth in the team, I think that was the biggest thing for me. And I want to say, like, I can say the time of Agape, comparing that year to this year, it was a huge difference in my household, in my spiritual life, in my marriage, and even at work. So the two different comparisons for me, it was evident come Agape, and I think that's the best part. I saw a huge comparison, and I was able to see the difference.
And I just wanted to add, because I don't mention it a lot, but a lot of my answer prayers have been because in our ministry, to see that like dynamic of how things are happening and how
Yeah.
we have become more than just friends, more than just a team. And it's something that I have prayed a lot. I know that Pastor and Erica had prayed for something like that too, and just to see him answer. So
Yeah. So my favorite part was actually just two trips we took. One, we took a trip to the beach for my brother's birthday, where we went out like as a family, and it's something like we didn't do much growing up. If we did travel, we traveled to Guatemala. But like actually taking a little like weekend getaway to the beach, getting an Airbnb with friends. That was a nice little experience, like a little road trip coming back, and then Soy de Cristo with you guys, and some of the other youth members and leaders. That was a nice little getaway too. A little weekend, because it's I think that helps us bond a little closer. Right, you see how people really are how they look when they wake up, and how they look when they're hungry, and
Hangry.
yeah. So those were probably my two favorite moments in 2024. Just, it had to do with trips, getting out there, doing something out of your normal day to day. And it was something that it was not
And it wasn't
as
planned.
expected. Yeah, it wasn't planned. It wasn't like, oh, we aim to do this. It was just kind of, it all just happened from a conversation, right? So actually both trips. So those are probably my favorite two things for 2024. And with that, let's wrap this up because we
Yeah.
got to go. We gotta
Where
go.
are we going? Where are we going? Nothing to do.
You don't have nothing to do.
Where are we going?
Jose saying he's trying to finish the game.
Where are we going? Where are we going?
Now, with that, we appreciate you guys, man. Always sticking with us.
Yep.
Please do not forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share it with your friends and family.
Yep, and hit that hit that notification button so that every time we drop new content, you guys are always being updated with all that stuff. So that's it.
Yes, sir.